What's up, everyone? My name is Mike, and this is TheBoredCyborg. Welcome back to yet another episode. Today we're doing another movie poster comparison. I haven't done one of these episodes in months and months. I think I've done 3 of these so far, and I actually really enjoy doing them, so I hope you guys enjoy them as well. Today I'm going to be looking at Cyberpunk, sci-fi cyberpunk movie posters. More so cyberpunk. So every film that I picked, 5 films, I tried to be as diverse as possible, 80s, 90s, animation, just try to be as diverse as possible, but I also picked some of the most popular cyberpunk films of all time. Films that have influenced the genre, heavily influenced the genre, and really have a lot of the tropes that make cyberpunk what it is. But before we look at them, I'd love to know what your favorite cyberpunk movie is, so feel free to leave that down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion rolling. So, we're gonna get my handy-dandy standy, put it right there, and the way that this works is basically, I've got my phone propped up right here. I'm gonna move it to the edge of the table, and that's kind of how it works. I look at my phone, and right to the left of me is going to be the poster so that you guys could see what I'm describing. So the first film's posters we're going to look at is an obvious one. I had to do it. My favorite film of all time, one of like 10 or 20, depends on what day it is, Blade Runner. Arguably the film that started it all in terms of cyberpunk and its aesthetic. The way this film looks influenced so many movies that came after it, not only in this country, but in other countries, especially Japan. We get some of the coolest 80s anime out of Japan because of Blade Runner, because of what Blade Runner did for the genre. So, I could talk about Blade Runner all day. Let's take a look at the poster, though. This is the U.S. poster, guys. Has a quotation up in the top right. Man has made his match. Now it's his problem. Referring to the replicants. Now, I love this poster. I've always loved this poster. In fact, I'd love to have it framed because, again, it is one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite movie of all time. Now, let's take a look at the details. It's perfectly composed, perfectly airbrushed. You've got this not sprawling city, but you've got this city with skyscrapers, oddly shaped skyscrapers, Deckard in the top left with like beams coming from him. And then you have Sean Young's character smoking a cigarette with the smoke sort of leaving the screen or leaving the poster on the top right. It's blocked off by Harrison Ford in Blade Runner. I love how Harrison Ford is bigger than Blade Runner. Slightly, but it looks slightly bigger than the words Blade Runner. And that's because Harrison Ford was a friggin' star at this point with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So that is the American one. I love it, guys. It's got even the spinner there that's sort of going off into the sky. It's wondrous and perfectly encapsulates the film's aesthetic, and not many posters could say that. Usually posters are more extravagant than what the film has to present, but Blade Runner, I would argue that the poster pales in comparison to Ridley Scott's aesthetic that he achieved. The film's incredible. Moving on. This is, I'm not sure where this one is from. I couldn't see any, so it's in English. It maybe is a U.S. alternative or in a British poster. English-speaking country, Australia, something like that, Canada. I'm not exactly sure. Not too crazy about this one. It just has 5 screenshots from the movie on a black background with the Blade Runner script, which is amazing. I love that script, or that font. Harrison Ford's name is very, very small. It says Harrison Ford is the Blade Runner. Damn right. Very cyberpunk image with him going over the taxi cabs with neon lights in the back and punks on the left there, spiky-headed punks. It's a good image, but it's weird to have on a poster. And then you've just got 4 random images and like a production still of Harrison Ford's handsome face. So that one is okay. Then we get to the Japanese poster, which, oh my god. Oh, the Japanese, man. If you've watched this series before, any of the other 3 videos I've done in this series, you know that I gush over the Japanese posters. They just usually get them better than most other countries. This is it. This poster right here is very, very, very close to the American one in my opinion. Now, this one does have the sprawling cityscape, the beginning of the film where the beautiful beautiful Vangelis music starts playing, and you've got these oil refineries bursting fire into the air as the camera slowly glides over the dark, bleak city, and this is captured perfectly in this image with the spinner sort of coming up over the top, so same image of the spinner. And I just love it. You've got some of those really cool architecture buildings that, like, the art buildings with really cool architecture that are sort of pyramidal. And you've got the image from the end of the film on the bottom left where Deckard's hanging on. You've also got bottom right another sort of production still. Harrison Ford kind of looks like Bond there. And that is not the gun, I will say, from the movie. That's a problem. It doesn't look like it, at least. It looks like it pales in comparison. And then a couple images of Roy Batty and Sean Young's character, which I'm blanking on her name. And then some very cool Japanese font, of course. So I love this poster, guys. I think it's composed excellently, but that cityscape really does it for me in this one. Here we have the German poster. Die Menschen schufen sich ihr Ebenbild suchen. I'm trying. I just finished watching a couple German movies, so it's like fresh in my head, and I just butchered it. This one, Der Blade Runner. Very similar image to the Japanese one, so I'm not going to talk about it much. It's just cropped poorly, and the colors aren't as well done in this one as in the Japanese one, so moving on. This one, I'm going to have to look real quick. Yeah, this is the Italian one. Now, I like the cityscape that the Japanese used. Of course, I'm not sure who used what first in the poster. It's from the film, of course. But then it's got this very poorly superimposed picture of Harrison Ford as Deckard. I don't understand. The other two characters are in full color, but his character is like it looks like monochrome, and I don't understand why. And he also looks, it's not a very flattering pose that he's got there. And then they changed the Blade Runner font color to yellow, which, I guess to pop out a little bit more. This one's okay, I just don't really understand the odd superimposed image of Harrison Ford. It's a production still, for sure. He also looks younger. I don't know. It's a weird one, guys. And the colors just look saturated. That just may be the version I found, but I don't know. This one, same image, it's just cropped a little differently. No, I guess it's cropped a little differently. And this is the French poster. And I'm not going to talk about it because it's basically the same. If I had to choose, I would choose the Italian one. It's just a cleaner looking poster. Definitely when compared to the French one, so the French one's even worse. Then we've got El Año. So this is El Año El Hombre. So this is Spanish, from Spain, I believe. Same exact image as the last two guys. But, yeah, it just has a white border that takes away. Yeah, this is the worst of the three that use this image. I'm not a fan of this one at all. Ugh. Yeah, let's move on. I hate, I like when the poster is I like when the poster is the full image and there's no, white border or tons of words everywhere and text. I like when it's the full poster, the full colorful image. That's my favorite type of poster. Next up, we have the Russian poster, I believe. Any of my international fans out there that know if this is the Russian poster or not, please let me know. I'm not perfect, and I can't verify all of these, because some of the information on some of these posters is very obscure, very hard to find. So, this is the Russian poster, just a butchered version of the American poster, with all the characters on the bottom. I could do without it. It's not good at all. Next up, we have an alternative Japanese poster, which is basically using the same image as the American poster, but making it smaller, with Japanese font up top. Very generic, very boring. Now we get on to some cool stuff. I'm going to be saving the cool, the really weird, the really odd, peculiar ones for later. This, I believe, is from the Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a really interesting poster. Man, some of those European countries have really interesting artistic ideas, and I've never seen anything like this. This is awesome. So you have a gun with two dots on it. Two red dots that make up the eyes of what I believe to be Roy Batty's character. It's not Deckard. So this is, I believe, the only poster with no Harrison Ford, no Deckard. So But it does have Roy Batty, I believe, or at least an android. That's what it's alluding to, the red eyes as sort of an android eyes, or cyborg eyes. And it's got this really rough, sketched sort of look to it, sort of a very comic book-like, but it is rough, but I really like it. It's black on like a light gray with the red font. It looks really cool. I love how innovative and unique this design is, so I gotta applaud it for that, and I really love it. Very cool. And let's see, I have three more in the Blade Runner category. This might be a long video. That's okay. This one, Ghana. Ghana does some of the most amazing posters in the world. I love these posters. Such a unique art style. Not great, I will say, but very, very distinct. I know Ghanese posters now when I see them. It's got Pris. It's got... Who is that supposed to be on the bottom left? Is that supposed to be Sean Young's character? And then you have a really bad Roy Batty likeness. And then you have Harrison Ford as Han Solo, making up the majority of the frame. And it has weird spikes coming in, like 2 from the right and 1 from the left. I don't know what that's all about. And then it says Blade Runner in some really neat font, but it's literally Han Solo. He even has Han Solo's blaster. So they were using that image, obviously, to sell the film more because everybody knows Han Solo at that point. So this one's great. Gotta show some love to the Ghanese posters. I love these. These are incredible. And then we have, I believe, again, guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, the Polish poster. I couldn't find much information about this one, but it reminds me of a couple things. It reminds me of Fifth Element. It reminds me of La Femme Nikita, but it's a Blade Runner poster. I guess it's supposed to be one of the replicant, the first replicant he hunts down, the woman who's the like the fashion model, dancer type, entertainer, I'll say. And I'm not exactly sure where, but she has a gun, so I'm a little confused by it. But maybe it's supposed to be Pris. Not exactly sure, but it's a really cool image, stylized, sort of cartoony comic book image of a woman with a gun aiming sort of behind her. It's an odd image, and I don't really know how to describe it or articulate my feelings about it. But I like it. It's cool. It's simple. It's effective, but doesn't really say too much about what the film is about, that's for sure. And then lastly, I just wanted to show you guys the Blade Runner Final Cut poster. Not exactly sure when the Final Cut came out. I want to say in the 90s. But this is the poster that they did for it, and I think it's really great. It looks hand-drawn, sort of like the 80s, and maybe the Final Cut came out in the 80s. Please educate me. I'm not exactly sure. But this one is really cool. It is done in the style of 80s posters, has all the characters done in like an airbrush style. Really awesome image for the Final Cut of Blade Runner. That is Blade Runner. Tons of posters. On to the next. So we just talked about Blade Runner, which is one of my favorite films of all time. I have like 20 favorite films of all time. You know, it's like somebody asks, what's your favorite film? I'm like, well, today, The Thing. Tomorrow, maybe Blade Runner. The next day, maybe The Matrix. It's definitely in my top 5 of all time. Words can't describe how I feel about The Matrix. I've talked about it in the past, of course, but I'm very nostalgic for it. It opened my mind incredibly when I was a boy. When I was like 12 years old, I looked at the world differently from then on, still do, and I still adore the film. The poster is badass. I mean, it's got all the characters. It's got Cypher, your Judas. It's got, it's got Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne. It's got Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity, and front and center is just the baddest picture of Keanu Reeves as Neo, with sort of the duster floating in the wind, all black, jet black, sunglasses, with a big-ass rifle. That's all we need, baby. Try to picture Will Smith there. Can you see it? I can kind of see it, I gotta be honest. Will Smith was supposed to be cast as Neo. Either way, I'm glad we got the movie we did. Who knows how it would have fared. This poster is amazing. It's got the code sort of it's got the code sort of drizzling down on them like rain against a gray, dreary background, which really exemplifies the scenes when Neo is in the Matrix, where it's always dreary, always raining, always dark, always jaundiced. And I just love this poster. Another poster I'd love to have on the wall. It's not anything exceptional, but it captures the film perfectly and really gets you excited to see it. And man, I just love it. It says, on March 31st, the fight for the future begins. The Matrix, one of my favorite films of all time. Let's move to the next one. This, I believe, is the alternative on April 2nd, be afraid of the future. April 2nd, wow, it came out a day before my birthday. I didn't really remember it like that. But Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne at the top, The Matrix has you. Now this, I think, is given away a bit too much. It's too bioorganic, and it gives away the main real twist in the film, or at least an aesthetic, just a philosophy, philosophical twist that happens, of course, in the middle of the film, where you just get catapulted into the real. And I love the image, but it just doesn't, I don't know if they're going for like an alien sort of thing here, but it just doesn't, it spoils it, and it doesn't really get you too excited to see it. Moving on. Again, I believe that's an alternative poster. Next up, we have the French film, which just says The Matrix. It's the same exact image. A lot of these are the same image, so we're going to go through them rather quickly, but there are a couple cool ones, so let's keep going. But it is interesting that it just says Matrix, not The Matrix. And then this one, which I believe is the German poster. This one's kind of cheesy. This one just makes The Matrix kind of look like a B movie, to be honest. I've seen so many B sci-fi movie covers like this, that this one just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it. I mean, it's got Neo holding a couple guns. I swear that doesn't look like Keanu. It is, but the way he's sort of looking down, it throws me off. And then you got Morpheus, just cheesy poses, a dumb Dutch angle with like lightning striking in the back. It just doesn't really work for me, so let's move on. That one also says just Matrix. This is the Japanese poster. So this one didn't really blow me away. I was expecting the Japanese Matrix poster to blow me away, but this one didn't. It's okay. It's not bad. It's got the code sort of, it feels, it's almost as if it's in like a diorama, right? So it's sort of a three-dimensional box, sort of cube, sort of image that the three main characters are sort of rested in, and it's got the code sort of falling away from them. I like the original poster where it's kind of falling like rain. That's super symbolic because one of the main the most iconic images is the code just kind of running down and the guys reading it and whatnot. It's how the film starts in a lot of ways. So, or it does start like that, I should say. This one, it's okay. I expected more from Japan, I'll say. And this one is this is, I believe, the German poster, which is almost the same exact image. It's just pushed in, it's just kind of zoomed in, and the Matrix is on the bottom left instead of the top right, the title there, and it's a uglier blue, so it's not that great. Moving on to the last one. Ghana again for the win here. This is the Ghanese poster of The Matrix. Neo is holding a knife in his left hand and a sai in his right hand, and he's doing like a cool move. And then you have, I guess, Morpheus, who looks like a white guy with balding red hair and glasses, who has a sword. So I guess they're alluding to the fight in the dojo when Neo first starts learning martial arts. And then it has just a weird blue background, but it's not the best Ghanese poster. I've seen the other Ghanese posters I've talked about are far better. This one's pretty lackluster. Anyway, on to the next film. Alright, next up we have another one of my favorite films of all time, The Terminator. I love it even more than the second Terminator, and I fucking love the second Terminator. I don't know, right now I'm feeling like they're equal. I go back and forth. Either way, The Terminator. Now, this is the original American poster. Strap in because there's a lot of Terminator posters. Obviously, it was one of the most popular films in the world during the 80s. And, so let's talk about it. So you have just a glorious image of Schwarzenegger with the incredibly iconic sunglasses and this pout on his face, this indifferent, emotionless pout. I love that look. He pulled it off so well. No one else could have pulled it off like him. I honestly think that. And that goes to show that he is an actor. God damn it. Maybe he's not Daniel Day-Lewis, but he is an actor. They're both good at different things. He's got his big-ass pistol there, holding it up, and you've got these sort of red rays or lines coming from behind him with his badass leather jacket with the collar popped up. It's amazing, and it just says Schwarzenegger in big red letters, which are bigger than the Terminator font. I absolutely love this poster. Another one I'd love to have on the wall. Next up, oh yeah, here we go. Japan's back, baby. This one is great. It's got a lot going on, but something the Japanese do really well is incorporate so many images, and it is chaotic. It should hurt your eyes, but it just sort of works. It blends so well for me. So you've got sort of okay, let's talk about the main image, which is the same image from the US poster. Behind him, however, you do have those rays, but the Japanese decided to do something really unique, and that's use the top triangular part to display how the Terminator sees, his perspective. You know, when we see like the red and black, where he's tracking things and calculating things, the Japanese decided to sort of superimpose that into the background, which I think is awesome. It really adds something to it. I think the Americans probably thought it would have been too busy to do something like that. Americans really like simplicity, whereas the Japanese just went crazy. I absolutely love it. You have Reese and Sarah Connor being chased by the Terminator, running through that, they just got out of the tunnel. So it incorporates a little image there perfectly imposed within like sort of the arm and abdomen area of the Terminator himself. And of course the super cool Japanese font. I love this poster. It's busy, but I absolutely adore it. Moving on. Oh, and I have to mention, in his eyes, this is in the US poster too, I love that in his right, in the sunglasses right lens, it has sort of just a cybernetic code of some sort, and I really dig that. It's just a nice little detail. And this one is it's the same exact image as the US one, but this one instead has a description. In the year of darkness, 2029, the rulers of this planet devised the ultimate plan. They would reshape the past. The plan required something that felt no pity, no pain, no fear, something unstoppable. Awesome. They created the Terminator. So it's a bit wordy for a poster, I think, but it's just the same exact image, so I don't have much to say about it, but I'll take all of the posters I've talked about over it thus far. The Terminator stuff gets crazy, guys, so we're going to get there very soon. Here we have the French poster. Again, same exact image, it's just sort of, for lack of better terms, photoshopped a little bit differently. You have a lot more rays. It's kind of pulled back a little bit, actually, is what it is. And it just says Terminator, not the Terminator. So there you go. And it says like an award sort of thing there. So I'm not sure if this was the original French poster, if the film didn't premiere in France. Not exactly sure. But yeah, can't really say much about it. Now we're starting to get into different territory here. With, let's see, this is Produzione. Well, that's going to be Italian. This looks like the Italian poster. Terminator, Schwarzenegger on top, again, in bigger font, of course. I love it. Bigger size font. Now, this is almost the same exact image as the ones I've talked about prior, but it does something interesting. This is cool. On the left side of Schwarzenegger, the Terminator himself, is sort of, it blends into or changes over to his cybernetic skeleton. And I think that's a really cool touch. It's subtle, but it works well enough. It sort of catches your attention even more than the other posters. Now, I'm not sure if I prefer it over the other images. I'm not exactly sure, but I do like that they were bold and did something a little bit different. I think that's pretty cool. Now, this one is completely different than all the others. I believe this one is from France. I'm not exactly sure. This is just a completely different image of Schwarzenegger. The Terminator is actually in bigger font. It's in like programmy font. And the right side of the Terminator is the cyborg skeleton. And then the left side of him is just the regular skin, the human skin. And he's got a dagger, like a big dagger in his left hand for some reason. And the right hand's coming up with a pistol. Not very good, very dark and obscure. I don't know. It looks like it's supposed to be space or something. It just doesn't really work for me, so I'm not a big fan of that one. Now, this one, you guys are going to have to tell me where this one's from. It almost looks like a Thailand poster, but I'm not exactly sure. It says the Terminator, and unfortunately, I cannot figure out where this one came from. It looks like it's mostly in English, though. This one's interesting. The likeness of Schwarzenegger is pretty good. It's not perfect. He's got 74 abs. He's got a 74 pack, just pulsating, veiny muscles, and a couple images from the film. Is that helicopter from the first film? I don't know. This is a weird one. It almost looks like some of the First Blood posters that I've talked about in the past. He's got the shotgun in his left hand. It's okay. I don't really have much to say about it. It's just kind of a generic action movie poster. So, Next up, we're getting into the weird ones. All right, so Polish movie posters and weird are synonymous. This is the Polish movie poster. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. I just went off of the information that I could find. Very little information. This one has no likeness of Schwarzenegger. It's just an android. It looks like an exoskeleton, like a see-through skeleton. The left side is just like circuitry. And then it says CSM-101. I have no idea. Against the black background, I don't have much to say about this one either. What do you guys think? It doesn't look anything like Schwarzenegger. It looks like I don't know. It looks like Moby or something. I have no idea. Just a bald cyborg. It's odd. Now, oh my god, this one is even more odd. The only information, I doubt this one is from Poland. This is a crazy one. Where I found it, they said they think it's from Poland, but my gut is telling me, I don't know. My gut's telling me that this is Ghana. I'm not exactly sure, though. Educate me, please. I'm not exactly sure. It looks like a Ghanese poster. So it's got like a chibi-eyed, weird-looking version of Schwarzenegger. It looks nothing like him. His eyes are completely different and misshapen and different colors, and his like face is cracking. What the hell's going on? And his chest is red, and he's holding up behind his head like this an upside-down assault rifle shotgun-looking thing. And then he's firing his pistol in his other hand and you can see his cybernetic arm underneath. And then Terminator coming down vertically, and the O of Terminator is a heart. And then there's like a 2 behind the heart. What is happening? Well, I have no idea what I'm looking at, but it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure this is a Ghanese poster. Moving on. This one, I believe, is Turkish. Completely different. This one has a nice piss yellow color scheme going on against a flat, like, grayish black background. It's awful. But, yeah, Schwarzenegger, profile view of him with a big-ass weapon, big-ass shotgun, and then almost an indeterminable top image on the top right. I have no idea what's going on in this image at all. But, yeah, moving on. Here we have, now I know this one is from Poland, so I'm not sure if the other one was. If it was an alternative. But this, I think, was the main Polish poster. This is really cool. This actually does almost a similar thing to Blade Runner. Maybe even using a similar image, because I see some of the spiky hair from the one that I talked about earlier, which kind of reminded me of Roy Batty. But this one's interesting because it has, I don't know what to call it, just like spotlights that sort of converge and then make up his eyes, his cybernetic eyes through the sunglasses. And it's got a really cool black and white look to it. It looks very punk. It looks very 80s punk to me. That's what it reminds me of. I guess that's suiting for Cyberpunk. So there you go. Kudos to Poland for ushering in the punk and having just enough cyber. Moving on. This one is from Thailand. Thailand pops up in the video. Thailand is known for incredible posters, incredibly detailed, well-composed posters, and this is no exception. First thing that comes to mind is his gun. His gun is smoking, and it sort of trails behind him and makes up another image of him behind him. It's so odd. I mean, the artists were just thought like no other artists on the planet, these Thailand artists. And it just kind of trails into what looks like some circuitry and a grid. Very science fiction-y, of course. And then on the bottom, you have a bunch of images, some from the film, some not from the film. I have no idea what's going on down there. It's absolute chaos, and this image isn't the most clear, unfortunately. And it looks like 2029 is in the title, so that's kind of funny. But you have this really odd, like, this picture of the skeleton version of the Terminator, once all the flesh has been melted off. And it's just kind of standing there. It's kind of odd, but it uses a very similar image to the American poster and kind of uses some of the Italian ideas for the right side of the Terminator's face here with the cybernetic imagery, but it doesn't look as good. It looks kind of shitty. The cybernetic nature of it, I should say. Everything else I really like. I'm not sure about the lime green, though, on the bottom. That kind of throws me off. I wish it was like red or black. Black would have been even better, but the lime green, I don't understand that decision. But that's okay. Art is subjective, right? Moving on, we have... I can't tell you where this is from. I have no idea where this is from. This is awesome, though. It's got the an artist's rendition of the original image from the US poster. It says Terminator 1. This might be Ghana, though. This might be the Ghanese poster. I could be completely wrong. It says Pall Mall Video Club. I should have Googled that. But it's got a tattered Terminator. You can see some of his skeleton underneath him. I like that. His flesh kind of ripped off. Look at his wrist vein, by the way. It's incredible. And then you have like a pouty Terminator shooting up the police department down there on the bottom side. And this poster is pretty cool, though. I gotta admit, you got explosions on the bottom right. I like it a lot. I like it much better than... Well, I don't want to compare it to the other poster because I'm not positive if it's Ghanese or if it's Polish. I'm not exactly sure. Either way, this one is really cool. Moving on to the next film. Next up, what do you know? I guess this really says something about my taste in film. Another film that's in my top 20. A film I love to death. I love Cyberpunk. I can't stress it enough. Novels, Neuromancer, Snow Crasher. I love the aesthetic. I love the world. I relate to it. I resonate with it. The Fifth Element is one of my favorite movies of all time. Great poster, too. I love the original US poster. I remember it from the 90s, actually, and being excited to see the film and finally seeing it in, like, 98 on video when my father rented it and just fell in love. The rest is history, right? So this one has the city... So it takes place in the sky. You know, of course, there are a bunch of flying cars. So the city has been built even higher because cars could fly. So you have the cops chasing Corbin Dallas in his taxi cab. You have Lilu on the top right, of course, Bruce Willis in the center. Looking a little cleaner, a little younger than he actually was at the time. Gary Oldman's villain on the bottom right, and you have just other cars just sort of zooming by, and the city on the side. And I really like how it sort of evolves into a rainbow the further you go back. There's like rainbow colors sort of going into the corridor of the street, and it's just sort of blackness behind them. So I like this poster. It's not the best poster in the world, I will admit, but it's not bad. And the next one here is an alternative one, I believe. Maybe it's a UK poster, maybe it's an alternative American one. This one, not really feeling it. Doesn't really say too much about the film. Doesn't say as much about the film as the first one, at least. And you have just these, I guess, the 5 elements sort of going up into the sky. You have some spacecraft. You have a planet. I don't know. The film doesn't really take place in space. I mean, there are some scenes in space, the Space Federation and whatnot, but this one just doesn't really capture it for me. Next up is the Japanese poster. Now, this is an odd one. I like it, I do, but it's just a weird choice. It's not as cool as Japanese posters usually are. But it has the great scene, goosebump-inducing scene, where Lilu takes the leap of faith, essentially, and lands in Corbin Dallas's taxi. I love this image. It has a lot of meaning. She's breaking free, right? Taking a leap of faith. And I love it. And it's I believe the original image was more straight up. So she jumps and it's like you're watching her, not from the side, you're watching her sort of dive down. But this one flips it on its side and it's okay. It's not bad. I mean, it sort of arrests you because you're like, holy shit, what is she doing? She's just jumping. And then you have a really poorly cropped image. I don't know what the hell's up with that. On the bottom of Corbin Dallas from the movie. It doesn't even have like a border. It's just horrible. I get it. They had to have Bruce Willis there. But man, they should have left it out. And I think the poster would have been interesting and enigmatic without him there. But what we got is pretty interesting. And I applaud them for taking a risk. This is a bold picture or a bold poster to make. It makes sense why they chose the image, but I don't know if it was the best idea for the Japanese to choose it. Next up, we really devolve here, guys. There's really not much to talk about with the Fifth Element, but that's why I wanted to show you these, because they're just so cheesy and generic. So this one, I'm not sure where this one is from, but it's got it's different images of Bruce Willis of Corbin Dallas and Lilu. And it's just zoomed in. It's not pulled back as much as the American poster, so you can't even see all of the police cars chasing the cab. Not very good. Next, we have another weird one. You got the 5 elements sort of going up and just a person in the middle going like this. I would imagine is Lilu. This is a French poster here. Yeah, just like an inferno of elements into space. I don't know. It's odd and doesn't really get you too excited. Now, this one's really interesting. I like this one. This is a better French poster. It has her language, Liluminai lekatariba laminachai ekbat se de sebat. Now, I don't know if that's a real language, so I don't mean to offend anybody, but I believe that's the language that she speaks. I want to say it's like Sumerian. I think it's an amalgam of a bunch of languages, but it's an ancient language, which makes sense with the film's themes. Cinquième element. And you have almost what I would call a proper image of Lilu taking the leap of faith. I love this even better than the Japanese one. This one is the correct angle for one, and you just see all the way down to the bottom of the street. It's really, really cool, and she's just sort of taking her leap of faith, and it's just colored better, it pops more, and really gets you interested. And the bottom of the frame is used as the building, like moving toward the top of the building. It's hard to explain some of these, right? Because they're abstract in a lot of ways. But this one, love this poster. Really cool one. And it has what I believe is her language, which, again, would get you interested. Like, what the hell is that, you know? This one, I believe, is from Russia. Kind of an amalgam of, like, the American one and the one that I couldn't place the country for and the alternate American one. I don't know. I don't have anything to say about it. This one is really weird, and this, I don't know where this one came from either, guys. Sorry, I did my research. I tried, I'm telling you. If I find where it's from, of course, I'll put it right down here for you guys. This one is weird. It's got sort of, like these weird church-like pinnacles, these columns that come to a pinnacle with each of the main characters, and has Ruby Rod right on the right side, and the weird opera singer, the weird alien opera singer in the center, and Lilu on the bottom, sort of in wonder. And it's got the cityscape in the background going into the space with the elements going up, and it's got a rectangular image and then a circular image. It's odd, and I don't know where it's from. I'm not even going to take a guess. Az otodik elem. I don't know what language that is. I'm not even going to attempt to guess. I would imagine European. But we're going to move on to the next, and it is El Quinto Elemento. That is No hay futuro sin él. That is the Spanish poster. I believe this one is from Spain. And yes, I've practiced a little bit of Spanish. I've studied some Spanish. I'm not fluent by any means, but I can pronounce it well and whatnot. El Quinto Elemento. I love it. I think it says something like, there is no future without him, if I'm not mistaken. And referring to Corbin Dallas, I don't know. Somebody translate that better for me. So my Spanish is not very good, clearly. Either way, this one has a similar image for the top of the frame. Not very flattering. It's kind of boring. The 3 main characters, but it has a really cool panoramic sort of view of the city, sort of at mid-building level with, you know, flying cars zooming by. Kind of cool image on the bottom right, but the top doesn't do much for me. And then we have the last one, which I believe was the teaser poster, and I like this one quite a bit. It's simple and I think effective, and gets you excited for the film. It says, "It must be found," which they're referring to the 5th element, and the S in must is a flaming 5, which I think is really cool. And then it has the 5 elements sort of coming up into the sky, small image, May 1997, and just a vastless, or a vast universe, I should say, a boundless universe behind the font. So it doesn't even say the 5th element, which I think is pretty interesting. Moving on to the next film. And this is the final film I'll be talking about, and you know I had to include an anime, and you know I had to include Akira. Akira is one of my favorite films of all time, like many of the films I've talked about in this video. So we have the American poster. Pioneer Entertainment presents Akira, where you have Kaneda with his badass Pills jacket. I believe the Pills were the name of the goddamn, what's the name of the gang? I think the Pills. And he's walking to his incredibly iconic bike, overhead view, walking the line of the street to his bike. Cracked concrete, says just enough. It's subtle, but it says just enough about what world Kaneda and the audience is walking into. I love Akira with the Japanese font sort of bloodied, bloody and smattered across the English font, or the English word, I should say, the anglicization. And the end of the world was only the beginning. Now, I think this poster was actually the one that they did for the release of Akira in this country, but I'm not exactly sure. I think it says 2001 there. This one, however, I think is the original. So forgive me, I did that kind of out of order. This one has 1989 Akira Committee, Streamlined Pictures. Neo Tokyo is about to explode. This has Kaneda with a big-ass weapon, and against a behind him is the cityscape, the backdrop, a dark, seedy city, but that doesn't really exemplify the actual city in the film, which is iridescent and just bursting with color, which is I love it so much. Akira's in my top 10 as well, guys. Katsuhiro Otomo, it says his name on the bottom, based on the graphic novel Akira in big red letters. I actually prefer the first poster I talked about. Whether that's the original or not, I can't say. Some of you could educate me on that, but I think it's from the release in America. Pioneer brought it over. This next one here is the Japanese poster, and this is really, really good. This really captures the spirit of the film. It has like an overhead, almost isometric view of some of the rooftops where you have neon lights, rainbow neon lights all over the place against the really cold, the really cold blue of the buildings that are lit up by the lights inside. I love the image, and then on the bottom you have Kaneda spinning his bike, or braking, spinning his bike there in one of the best scenes in the movie, the opening scene, and behind him is just the endless street that sort of goes into the cityscape, and I absolutely love it. Yellow Akira font color there, and then some images from the film which don't bother me at all. I think it's sort of a nice little band down there, sort of a band that makes it feel very complete. I really, really love this poster. I really can't say if I love it more than the one where Kaneda's walking to the bike, but the Japanese poster is incredible. Now, we have a couple Japanese posters, of course. This one uses the same image as the American poster, the second one I showed, but it's a fuller image, in fact. So it has the buildings, and I think a really important part of it, it has the buildings that are like sort of almost going into pipes, and just adding to the industrial nature of it. You have all these oddly sized photos on the top, which is just composed really interestingly, and the image of Kaneda with the gun, determined. Very cool image, but again, it dampens or flattens a lot of the color, which I don't know if I'm a big fan of. But I do like the image of the grayed out buildings. I do like that image, but I wish it had a little bit more color for the background is all. Next up, this is the last Japanese poster. Oh no, we have two more Japanese posters, I believe. Is this Japanese? Yeah, I believe so. So this one actually has the explosion of the big bomb in the beginning of the film that basically leads us into our story. World War III, of course. And you have what looks like Kaneda's eyes in the Akira font. Bad choice for the Akira. It's literally black see-through font with just a light, like a dark gray border. Very odd. But a very cool image of the explosion. It's it's got greens, a lot of different green tones there, and it's just exploding. So it's just a ball of explosion getting ready to just obliterate the city. And I really love it. It's a really cool image. Next up, we have the last Akira poster from, or no, I'm sorry, this one is not from Japan. This one is from France, actually. And I don't like what the French did with it because they actually kidify it, I think. They make it look more cartoony. Kaneda's likeness is just a little bit more cartoony. I get it. He still has a big smoking gun. They also added smoke to the gun. The composition, not a big fan of. Akira with sort of the white glow behind it. Cool images from the film, but not composed very well, and probably my least favorite of the ones so far. And last but not least, the Thailand poster of Akira. Now, this one's amazing. I love this. It looks like they actually took images from the film, possibly yeah, I think they're all images from the film, which is wise of them, because it's like Katsuhiro Otomo is one of the greatest animators of all time, so they're just like, we're not even going to do our own thing this time, we're going to just take the images and use them for the poster. I want to say the image of Kaneda, though, kind of has something different to it. It has a different look to it, and I'm not sure if they touched it up or redrew it. I'm not exactly sure. But it's got the great explosion in the background with the cityscape, the city about to be obliterated. It's got a firing squad. It's got all of our characters littered throughout the midsection of our poster here. I love it. It's just composed so well. And then you have, of course, Kaneda on the bike braking. And I love it. I think it's great. Akira in purple font on the bottom there, of course. This one's really great. Definitely one of my favorite of the Akira posters. I think it is absolutely awesome. It's one that I actually wouldn't mind having, framed somewhere in my home. But you only have so much room, and right now my walls are reserved for movie space, baby. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for this movie poster comparison. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoy doing these and sort of getting bringing out the inner art critic in me, I suppose. I'm not an art critic, but I like talking about how art makes me feel, obviously. I have a whole channel dedicated to that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'd love to know what your favorite poster is. If you could list your favorite poster from each of the movies I talked about, that would be awesome. I'd love to know what your favorites are. I kind of talked about my favorites as we went on. So feel free to leave that down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion rolling. I also have a Patreon and t-shirts. Links are in the description below. Check them out if you so please. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel and want to see more videos like it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications. Anyway, guys, I will see you all next time. Bored Cyborg is out.